Hello, everyone, and Happy New Year. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about my action research project, and I'm just going to give you a quick overview. My name is Alejandra Suaza, and I hope you enjoy it. The research question for this project is: how does place-based learning in combination with play-based learning cultivate and develop a more inclusive classroom for third culture kids? To understand the question, it is important to know what was the issue or the situation in the classroom that it was now a problem so we can try to solve. And the main problem or the issue in the classroom was that third culture kids or foreign kids um, have been alone, and since the beginning of the year they were not really socializing. They were kind of alone during the learning time. They were only with the teacher or with one friend, but for no longer than 5 minutes. So that was kind of worrying for me. And I know before COVID, these social skills are very tricky, especially for kids. So that problem brought several questions, especially because parents were also worried and we just wanted to help them. We don't want kids left behind in the classroom, nor inside of the classroom, nor in the playground. So the first question was how to help these kids. What can be a good approach to help them socialize while learning that doesn't seem to be something imposed? Or how can I cultivate a more inclusive classroom for these kids? So I was able to talk to different teachers, and then I came up with a plan. To better understand this project, there were three special concepts we need to learn or to have in mind. The first one is third culture kids. Who are these kids? Why are they called like that? So, a third culture kid or a cross cultural kid is a person who's living in or has spent a significant part of his or her development years, up to 18 years old, at outside of their parents' culture. So, in this case, I have three kids that are from the States, but they have not been living in the States, and they are in Colombia. So this study takes place in Colombia at an international school. Then we have play-based learning, and we know that play is their natural um, way of behaving in 5 years old kids. And so play-based learning is an important way to develop active learning. Active learning means using your brain in lots of ways. When children play, they explore the world and build on their understanding of the natural and social environment around them. So that's why play based learning is very important for this research. And then we have place based learning. I know these two concepts can be a little bit difficult to understand in terms of that both are PVL, but although they look similar, they are different, but they can complement each other. So, place based learning is a pedagogical approach that uses places and their resources as a foundation for learning across disciplines. Place based resources may include cultural, historical, or geophysical things. So the idea of these two was to try to combine these two to help our third culture kids. So how can I like gather all this information? So for this project, I use mixed methods, some quantitative, which seeks to quantify data and generalize results from a sample of a target population, that in this case was K-5 teachers, and a survey was addressed, and we gathered some information from there. And qualitative method, that the idea is to gear creating a complete and detailed description of observation as a researcher. So, as a teacher, I use my classroom as the experimental group. So I was constantly observing them and constantly looking at the changes. Of course, having my journal and writing every single detail from these observations. And at the end, using the survey and the observations, I did a triangulation of the data, and then I got the results. Then for the implementation, as I was telling you, I have two groups, the experimental group and the control group. The experimental group were my 23 students, of course, having in mind just three of them that were the sample. And from the control group were 21 students next door as a group, but the sample of that group were only five students, five third culture kids that we were observing all the time, or I was observing all the time. Uh, and so that brought to the face number two. In number two, I was just applying the centers. The centers were like the approach I use to have play-based learning and place-based learning mixed, so kids were able to be exposed to those approaches. And then in the phase number three, I was just again observing how are they doing with these centers, if play was really helping them, if place was involved in these centers. And for that, I got some results. So after the third observations, I did four observations, one at the beginning, two in the middle of the application, and one at the end. I was able to see that the experimental group was 70% socializing faster than the control group. In the control group, students socialize more while in recess, but it was not as frequent as in the experimental group. Students from the experimental group were able to socialize in different environments rather than just during recess time. And as a plus, the social skills of the whole experimental group were higher than in the control group, according to the other teacher's perspective. So we could see some differences. Kids in the experimental group are right now socializing with almost everyone, and of course, nothing is perfect. Um, but I can see that it grew. So from these results, um, centers in this case give the students the opportunity to play in other situations than just the playground, giving them chances to problem solve, critical think, and learn about new culture, while socializing, creating an environment of natural interaction among students. As the main goal of place-based education is to increase the students' engagement, increase academic achievement, and create good citizens. These two approaches were very appropriate to cultivate an inclusive classroom for third culture kids. Okay, now to talk about a little bit limitations and recommendations. A strong limitation for this project was the time. This action plan, this action research took only 3 months, so it would be great if we can conduct this study for a longer time. Another limitation was the number of third culture kids in the experimental group. There were only three, while in the control group there were five. And a recommendation would be to make administrators aware it is better to have a balance of students per class, beneficiating and promoting real diversity at school. And teachers should promote approaches like play-based learning and place-based learning in their classes to support students. As next steps, I know we are just in vacation, but as the academic year is not over yet, I will continue using these approaches in the classroom. I'll keep observing changes in their social behavior. I think this study can be addressed at any international school, helping not only third culture kids to socialize better, but all kids. And so that's it. Thank you. Gracias. I really hope you like it, and I'm looking forward for your questions and comments about this project. Thank you.